Nintendo's first console with 3D games, the Nintendo 64 revolutionized a number of beloved franchises and genres. And with the SNES Classic now available, the Nintendo 64 is the next home console in line to conceivably receive the Classic's treatment. With that in mind, here are 16 games that we think define the best of the system's library and would deserve space on the N64 Mini. A defining moment for camera control, platformers, and console gaming at large, Super Mario 64 is without a doubt one of the most iconic Nintendo games ever released. Simply pulling off a triple jump outside of Peach's castle remains a joy even today. Plus, Super Mario 64's inventive levels can still provide a challenge all these years later. Here we go! The fact that Nintendo hasn't published a sequel to Pokemon Snap is one of the company's biggest crimes. The other, of course, being the Luigi incident of 1997. One of the best Pokemon spin-offs, Snap takes such a unique idea and marries it to the core tenet of catching Pokemon as Todd Snap. Yes, that's your character's name, for a ridiculously fun adventure that should not be forgotten.
Get ready for the first race! 3, 2, 1...
Wave Race 64 offered excellent controls, varied and fun tracks, and a challenging stunt mode. Though adapting to Wave Race's physics may prove more difficult than sliding onto the racetracks of Mario Kart, it's just as rewarding to learn how to bob, weave, and barrel roll through the choppy virtual waters.
Oh! You did it!
Hello!
Widely regarded as one of, if not the best Zelda and N64 game, Ocarina of Time's absence on an N64 Mini would be criminal. Pushing the series into 3D, so many of the staples that have come to define the franchise are born out of Ocarina, which includes incredible dungeons and brilliant puzzles. Hyrule may look prettier in the new Zelda entries, but it's still a joy to ride Epona out into the open fields for the first time.
Ready? Go!
Though 1080 snowboarding has a somewhat difficult learning curve, shredding the slopes in the N64 snowboarding game remains fun years later, especially while SSX remains in hibernation. It also represents a unique aspect of Nintendo's history, a sports game not tied to any existing franchise, but just focused on the thrill of racing down a mountain trail. Donkey Kong 64 may not be Rare's best platformer, but a certain bear and bird may be tied up on other systems. Assuming those issues persist, DK64 is still a strong example of Rare's platforming heyday, aside from the overabundance of collectibles. But creative puzzles, challenging platforming, and that awesome earworm of an opening rap earn the Kong family a spot on the list.
This monkey rap!
Rare proved the possibility of first-person shooters on a console could not just work, but also be a lot of fun with GoldenEye 007. Shooters and their controls have come a long way since, but the fun campaign in classic multiplayer is a defining landmark for the system and the shooter genre, earning itself a spot on the list, even if that means dealing with your annoying friends who only play as Oddjob all over again. Majora's Mask is the weirdest Zelda out there, and also one of the most uniquely fun to play. With players trapped on a looping timer of 3 in-game days, discovering the ins and outs of Termina to properly complete quests, collect masks, and stop the moon from crashing into the Earth, it's one of the more challenging but rewarding quests the Hero of Time has embarked on. Mario has tried no shortage of sports in his lifetime, but Mario Golf teed off his modern run of sports titles with a strong debut on the Nintendo 64. The robust and easily understandable gameplay is fun across the game's 8 courses, and though the series would be improved in future entries, Mario's debut on the green is definitely no bogey. I'm sorry.
Mamma mia!
Block Fort, Block Fort, Block Fort. Mario Kart 64 has some great tracks, pushed the series into 3D, and is a step up from Super Mario Kart, but its multiplayer battle mode is an absolute joy. Duking it out in the beloved Block Fort, and other solid battle stages, is as fun as racing for first place in one of the best multiplayer experiences on the Nintendo 64. The Nintendo 64 is home to 2 of the best Mario Party entries ever, but Mario Party 2's minigame collection and gameplay represents a much larger jump in quality from the original. Shock Drop or Roll, Sneak and Snore, Hexagon Heat, and a bunch of other minigames remain a total blast to play, even if they'll incite some fights with your friends. Mario has a long history of surprisingly great RPGs, and Paper Mario is no exception. The gorgeous pop-up book aesthetic is married to a supremely funny script that at the time felt like such a refreshing break from Mario's traditional adventures.
Let's do it!
The great Tetris attack lives on in Pokemon Puzzle League, an excellent example of the puzzle franchise and an artistically faithful Pokemon spin-off, combining the look of the anime with the fast, frenetic puzzle solving of Tetris attack in both single and multiplayer form. Plus, any chance to put Gary in his place is worth taking.
Congratulations!
The fun, fast-paced action of Rogue Squadron allowed you to be in the midst of all the mayhem of a Star Wars space battle in style, especially thanks to the expansion pack enhanced graphics. Rogue Squadron may not stack up to the more modern Star Wars entries, but its tight controls and smart level design combine for one of the more fun Star Wars gaming outings. What started off as such an oddity has become one of Nintendo's tentpoles. All of Nintendo's mascots coming together to wail on each other? The fighting game franchise has proven itself over and over though, and it all started with the solid foundation of the first Super Smash Bros. Despite a limited roster, the fighting is still an absolute joy. Like the SNES Classic's revival of a never-released game, it's only fair that the N64 Mini continue this trend of having a rare inclusion. The 64DD peripheral and its special software only released in Japan, but the N64 Mini could make its games available around the world, and the F-Zero expansion kit is the one we're most excited to try. Not only do you get the full F-Zero X, but the expansion kit adds 12 more stages, a car editor, and a track creator. That's a pretty elaborate set of options for a Nintendo 64 game, and we'd love to see it finally available around the world. Those are 16 games that we'd love to see in a Nintendo 64 Classic. But what are some of your favorites? Let us know, and if you like this video, check out the 9 games we wished were on the SNES Classic.